One of the most common pitfalls of retirement planning is overestimating how much it actually costs to retire, and it all comes down to a few specific factors that make people think this way. Over the past 15 plus years as a financial advisor, I've helped countless clients pursue their retirement goals and plan their retirements. Unfortunately, for many retirees, retirement and especially retiring early can feel incredibly intimidating, which is exactly why I'm making this video. I want to share with you a few reasons why early retirement may actually be closer than you think, and how grasping a few of the concepts in this video could bring you even closer to your dream retirement. So, one of the biggest mistakes I see people make is this belief that you need a massive amount of money to retire, especially to retire early. There's a study that's put out by Northwestern Mutual. It's called their Planning and Progress Study. It's a fun read for a financial nerd. And so I was reading it and I almost fell off my chair. The study cited that the average individual investor with at least $1 million saved for retirement believes that they're going to need $3.93 million to retire. It's that kind of dangerous thinking that robs people of the retirement that they could have as they chase the retirement they think that they're supposed to have. Now, it would be great to be in your late 50s and be sitting on 4 million beans and getting ready to retire. Absolutely, it would. But that's not the reality of almost everybody watching this video. 99.9% of people watching this video won't have anywhere near $4 million to retire. The facts, the math, show that most folks can comfortably retire with far less than that and still meet their retirement goals. I'm going to break that down for you a little bit later in the video, but before I do, I want to talk about why this is a problem in the first place. Whether you think $4 million sounds right or you thought it sounded super high when I said it, you're likely still overestimating the amount that you're actually going to need. For folks who've done the right thing financially, they've lived within their means, they've saved, they've put away money for the future. By the time you get into your mid to late 50s, you're probably sitting on a nice chunk of change. Here's where the disconnect comes in, because retirement is this big, scary thing. It's the unknown. It's completely different than what you've lived for the last 30 plus years as an adult. And so to retire, you've got to give up that paycheck, the financial certainty that comes with it. And it seems insurmountable. It seems like something that you just couldn't possibly do. Let's talk about another stage of your life for a minute. Think back to when you were first starting your career. Maybe you were just out of school and starting out, everything seemed completely overwhelming. There was so much to learn. You probably weren't making very good money at the time. The challenges of progressing in your career probably seemed insurmountable. Now, think about where you are today as opposed to where you started your career way back then. Did you ever think that you would get this far, that you would end up where you are right now? You probably didn't. Not back then, at least. When you got started, you didn't think that way, but you took one step at a time, and look at what you've accomplished over your career. Now, starting a career is sort of a forced step in our lives. Maybe your folks told you it was time to get a job, or you wanted to make money so that you can get a place of your own or to get a car, and so you struck out on your own. But it was still a massive journey, the path from that day to this day. And there's probably no way that you thought you could accomplish everything that you have. Retirement is the same sort of thing, but sometimes you need someone to push you out of the nest to take that first step. Now, it may seem insurmountable at first, but working with someone to help you, not just to run the numbers, but to help you take that first step can put you on another incredible journey. If you take nothing else from this video, I hope that you'll listen to the words that I'm going to say next. You cannot allow the fear of the unknown to dictate when you're going to retire. Don't let it dictate you marching in place and continuing to work and save because you think you need $4 million to be able to retire and get the job done. The cost of this sort of thinking, the cost of delaying and continuing to chase a mythical and arbitrary savings figure, it's more than I can put into words. And I can't put it into words because it's not measured in dollars. There's a Henry David Thoreau quote that comes to mind, and it says, "The cost of a thing is the amount of what I will call life, which is required to be exchanged for it immediately or in the long run." You're exchanging life for extra resources. I've seen this cost paid. It's the person who's now in their early 80s. They've come to realize that they'll never spend all the money that they have, but they can't get back the time when they had the health to do the things that they always wanted to do that they never ended up doing because they continued working. Or even worse, I've seen the folks who continue to work and save well past the point of having enough to retire who end up passing away a year or two or three into retirement. They worked and they saved and they kept going for this thing that they never even got to have. Now, the consequences of delaying retirement isn't the point of this video, so I'm going to keep it brief and stop there, but I'll dive deeper into the topic in a video later this month. If you're one of those folks that's feeling a little bit stuck, click subscribe, come back, and see us again so that you don't miss out on that one. Now let's get back to why people feel like they need so much to retire, especially to retire early. I find that there are a few reasons that this happens over and over and over again. First off, until you sit down and figure it out, you're often overestimating how much you actually live off of. People equate their gross paycheck, how much they make per year, to their consumed income. And often these are two very different things as you start to approach early retirement. Let's say you're making a couple $100,000 a year, you're in your late 50s. Are you really living off of all of that money? Or are you stacking up quite a bit of cash by chunking it into retirement accounts, into the after tax savings, or just letting it accumulate in the bank because you're simply not spending everything that's coming in? I talk to people with incomes like this all the time, $150,000, $250,000 a year, who are actually living off like $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month at that point. So the first issue is that they think they need to recreate all of that income if they decide to retire, and they think there's no way they can possibly do it. In reality, they don't have to recreate $150,000 or $200,000 a year to live. And until you go through that process to see exactly what it is that you're spending, you don't know if you have enough put away to be able to do it. The second big one is healthcare. Now, healthcare is a major expense, no matter what. And planning ahead using things like an HSA account can be very valuable. We do that all the time for our clients, but here's where people naturally fall short. They assume that they need to continue to work because they will need medical insurance until age 65 when Medicare kicks in. They think that they can't afford insurance on their own. The fact of the matter is, you can find quality insurance on the exchange on healthcare.gov. There are other options available as well, and it's not so expensive that it would mean that you have to keep working until you get to Medicare age. But the common thought, people hear it over and over and over again, and they just assume that it's true, is that you can't afford health insurance if you retire, and so it keeps people working longer than they need to. It keeps them trading their resources of life and health for the resource of money that they don't need because they have incorrect information. If you want some extra help identifying the perfect time to retire yourself, and if you can retire early, click the first link in the description, and my team and I will review your exact situation and help you develop a game plan. Now, if you want to pursue the first steps of this sort of thing yourself, to figure out how much you actually need, and not take advice from some study that says that you need $4 million, here are your steps. I'll say it again. Don't take the leap without talking to someone, even if it's not me. Get an actual plan from somebody that knows what they're doing. But I want to give you the framework so that you can use it for yourself and sort of get that process going. So there's 3 steps here. Step number 1, do a little bit of math to understand what you actually spend. You'd be shocked how often I talk to somebody and they think one thing, then we dig into the numbers and it's completely different. You can download the data from your checking account and see how much you spend and where. Are these expenses that will continue in retirement? Are there additional items that you will need to spend on in retirement, traveling, things like that? Most large banks will actually have a lot of this built into their online platform. They'll show you how much you're spending and what you're spending it on. So go log in. Generally speaking, do it on a computer, not just on the app. You can get some more detailed information oftentimes through their online portal. Get at least 6 months of data, ideally get a full year, and see how much it is that you're actually consuming from your income. How much are you spending? Step number 2, you can run a quick quote on healthcare.gov without entering a name, an email, anything like that. You enter your age, your marital status, your income, your state, and you can get some quotes to see exactly how much medical insurance is going to cost you instead of believing the hype that you just can't afford it. Combine those 2 figures, what you need for baseline income and what medical is going to cost you if you retire early. This gives you a starting point for what you're actually likely to need. Step number 3 is figuring out the income. What do your guaranteed income sources look like? Pension, Social Security, and importantly, if you're looking at going early, when will they start and how far off is that? I've got a lot of videos on the channel about planning for retirement income, so I'll keep this quick. If you want more detail, go and check them out. They're all available to you. After you have your guaranteed retirement income sources figured out and knowing when they will start, you can start to see how much you can draw from your retirement portfolio, and is that sustainable? Let's say, for example, you need 80 grand a year and Social Security for you and your spouse will make up 50,000 of it, but you want to retire right now at 60. So you're going to be able to need to withstand an $80,000 distribution every year until the Social Security would kick in, and then supplement as needed once the Social Security starts. There's a number of online tools to help you do this. None of them are a substitute for a real plan, but they'll get you moving in the right direction. For what it's worth, a good resource, go check out AARP. Everybody knows all about AARP. They've got some good online calculators. You can play around with some of that stuff and see if you're in the right ballpark before you start getting serious about your own specific plan. The key here is not to wait. Take the first step. Don't just blindly overestimate the amount of money you're going to need to retire and then continue working and spending your other resources to get money. Now that you know why you may be able to retire earlier than you think, you can create a retirement plan based on everything that we talked about. But here's the thing, like I said, retirement is not something you can copy and paste advice on. What works for you may not work for someone else. So if you want some extra help to better plan your retirement, click the link in the description below.